I owned a Mac Mini for about 1.5 years by this point. I bought it on its release date and I've run through its paces several times in its life, and it has never felt sluggish. It's a common joke amongst the first generation Apple Silicon Macs owners that they have no reason to upgrade to the next generation. Yes, ray tracing would be cool to have and a couple more cores would go a long way too, but the battery life on those machines is amazing, and computing nowadays is really similar amongst even machines from 10 years ago. The only difference it makes is for professionals and gamers, of which are a few. But this Mac doesn't have a battery. What it has though is ray tracing, more cores, and more performance per core. So if those Macs are still relevant, how much my Mac will last? Well, I usually do a couple of things on my computer: browsing, Blender, gaming, and emulating. Is it up to the task? Well, browsing is pretty much flawless, as it should be on a brand new machine. M4 generation of Macs is the first generation that ships with 16GB of RAM by default, even on the lowest end machines. They say it was necessary for AI, which I have no interest in, but 16GB just gives so much wiggle room. Sometimes you want to have a deep dive into a rabbit hole and you have a bajillion apps open, and 16GB just goes a long way. And even if you do run out, Macs automatically make a swap file for you. No setup needed. Okay, how about Blender? Blender is a 3D modeling tool, meaning that it might want as much oomph as you can throw at it. Usually, you create a thing in Blender and then render it into an image. So let's test it on a very popular benchmark project, the classroom. While it renders, I want to say that I do pretty much everything creative nowadays in Blender. I make 3D stuff, compose pictures, edit photos, edit videos, make VR content, draw. Pretty much all my work could be all done in Blender, and that's why it's important for me for it to perform very well. Blender is utilizing all potential of this chip, with Metal API being supported and even using ray tracing for cycle renders. The render has completed at 3 minutes and 23 seconds. It's not the best, but for its price, it's amazing how much it can do. And from experience, I didn't really see it stutter or even crash even once. So, how about gaming? I don't play many games, which made my transition to a Mac from Windows a lot easier, knowing that a couple of games I happen to play are supported. Cyberpunk, for instance, runs pretty well, although I had to take some settings down to have a comfortable 60 FPS. It does offer a special config for this Mac, but I felt like it wasn't good enough. Still, I know many Mac people want things to just work, and if you're fine with playing it at 30 FPS, then that would be just fine. I usually only play Muse Dash on my Mac, which is not a good performance benchmark, given that I played it on my 2015 MacBook Air just fine too. But it's important to play stuff that you actually like, and not thinking that there are some games that you'd like to discover instead. I'm more of a retro game girl, so let's look into the emulation. I have some emulators on my Mac that, given the hardware that they're emulating, run pretty well. First, here's VMware Fusion. While it's not an emulator, it's a virtual machine. I put it here specifically because I use it to emulate Windows games on Mac. That does it fine. Not impressive, but a couple of co-op games it was happy to play. I also use it for stuff like Rufus sometimes, and it works fine. Next, I have RPSS3, which is a PS3 emulator. While it's an old console, the tech that powers it is very esoteric, and back in the day, developers couldn't optimize their games on this platform because of how hard it was to program games for it. Considering this as an entry-level Mac, games that I play, it runs very well. Most of my playtime is in Fallout New Vegas, which sounds absurd to play in an emulator, but playing it through VMware is not better, and don't even get me started on crossover. But with the right emulator version and an Ultimate Edition bought on eBay, you not only can play the game in 60 FPS with potentially higher resolution too, but also rip the disc right from the Mac itself, given you have the right model drive. Finally, something I thought would not work at all was Ryujinx, a Nintendo Switch emulator. It's important to know that Macs and Switches share the same processor architecture, ARM. It's good for battery life because of its simplified instruction set that lets it calculate things faster without overthinking. Despite this, they have a number of differences, so it is still emulating the games. Currently, I'm playing Tomodachi Life on it. While there's nothing wrong about playing it on an actual console, emulating brings some nice bonuses to the experience. For one, mouse and pen support are here by the virtue of emulating the touchscreen, which works pretty well and helps with creativity a lot. Second, emulator sits in its own window, meaning you can switch back and forth to focus on it and dismiss whenever you want. Or put it all the way on the second monitor, where it's just so convenient to take a peek and see if the game requires any attention. Perfect for ADHD havers for refocusing from time to time. Third, while not exclusive to emulation and also present on modded switches, you can add mods to the game. Mods like changing items that you created in-game with textures that you'd rather have without touching the interface much, or even brand new creations from the the community. This opens up this game so much and makes for a very special experience. Overall, to answer the question, yes, it's as good as it was day one. I don't even think I would need a new computer for another 8 years or even more, since I doubt whatever I'll be doing will change that much. I sometimes catch myself thinking I should have gone for the M4 Pro Mac, since it's forecasted to be twice as fast as my Mac, but then I remember that it uses much more energy to cool itself down, and taking a look at the prices, it might make more sense to just buy another base Mac Mini for a total of less money than the M4 Pro spec one. I'm very satisfied with this machine, and if you were contemplating the purchase, I'd say why not? If your machine is old, then a silent, speedy M4 Mac might be right up your alley. Thanks for watching!